a picture says more than 1,000 words. You have probably already heard the saying. But have you also heard about the fact that images are processed 60,000 times quicker by your brain than words? This is 3 times the blink of an eye. Welcome to Female Success Stories. My name is 𝐸𝐤𝐬𝐿. I'm here to share success stories of women from all around the globe to inspire and to encourage millions of women to write their own success story. Today, I have the pleasure to be interviewing Dana Rulf. She is expert for visual communication. Dear Dana, a very warm welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure, my honor. I'm really excited to hear about visual communication. I think this is really, really important, especially for complex topics. But how are you today?
I'm fine. I mean, I'm very happy that that we're here, that we're talking, because I love what I do, and I feel there's not enough people yet out there who know that it even exists what I do. So whenever there's a cool occasion like this one to talk about what I love, what I do, and what is, I think, very beneficial to people, I mean, perfect. So yeah, it's a good day.
I'm excited. Where does your passion for visualizations come from? Have you always loved drawing or art, or was there maybe a game changer in your life?
It's a little bit of both. I think, like most children, I love drawing and painting. I think most children do. Unfortunately, at a certain age, children lose it for the one reason or the other. I liked it like all children do, and most children do. However, when I noticed only much later, when I was studying and during lectures taking notes, that my notes looked a little bit different than the notes of other students, because I had a lot of little symbols there, or kind of not really drawings, but symbols, pictograms. I used a lot of arrows and structures. It was much more than text. And for me, that was just perfectly normal, because that was how my brain worked. So I never thought about it in any specific way. That's just the way I take notes, fine. And for a very long time, that was it. Until one day, and I remember so clearly, that was that game changer day probably. My husband came back and brought me a book. He said he'd seen that book and he knew that I need to have it. And it was a book about sketchnoting. And I remember so clearly when I opened up that book and start reading into it, I was struck, because I was convinced that one night while I was sleeping, someone crept in my head and took out all how my brain works and put it into that book. And that was amazing to realize that there's other people who work the same like I do. And it was also amazing to realize that there's much more I can do with it. It's much more than my personal little notes. And then I started, I'm looking more into it. I did educations on it. I did trainings. It's a lot of self-studying as well, because as it's not very much known, there's not many occasions where you can go and have a training. So I kind of professionalized it in a way, but still that was not even a side business for very long. It was just the way I took notes for myself or explained something to people, because that was so logical to me. And then slowly people start realizing what I do and ask me, can you do this for me, or can you do that for me? While I was still 100% working. So I kind of jungled that next to my job, until one day I thought, okay, there's so many more people coming to ask me for help, for visual help, and I wasn't prepared anymore to handle that. So I thought, yeah, I do have my own company, and I do that for my business. 5 years later, here I am. So yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you. Yeah, and not a single day I regretted that. So yeah. Good decision.
That's beautiful, really. Oh, very, very nice. Success story. That sounds great. So you have this is really a gift that came with you. So beautiful when you discover that, yeah, just like you said, there's already a book about it. It already exists. It's not just something in your head. Yeah, thank you. Really nice. And nowadays you focus on 3 areas, right? Let me check. On graphic recording, business visuals, and on sketch notes. Would you tell about these areas, what they are about?
Absolutely. So the base of all I do, really kind of the fundament of my work and also my vision is more visuals. I've been very long in international business, in finance, in management consulting. I've seen a lot of business. I've seen a lot of meetings and projects and a lot of talking. And I realized that in business, we're really good at words. But thinking back, there's not one single business situations where a visual wouldn't have helped. So I want to bring more visuals into the business world. And so this is really the more visuals part. Whatever I do, it's more visuals for the business world. Then the 3 areas you mentioned, one is the graphic recording. This is drawing visual summaries in real time. So imagine you have a workshop with clients and you're developing a topic or you brainstorm, whatever you do, while kind of you're working and developing content, I summarize the same content in a visual way. So at the end of your workshop, you have a visual summary on one page with all the key messages or the key questions, whatever it is. So when you look at that, you recall the whole workshop that you did with a lot of more details than are visible, because this is how our brain works. You see something and your brain grabs out all the associations and comes up with a lot more information than it's actually on the visual. So the graphic recording is visualizing in real time. The business visuals is everything else that is not real time. So I work a lot, for example, with companies they have their vision or their strategy in nice words. They worked a lot on it. They kind of know what their strategy is, where they want to go beyond just pure figures. And very often a challenge is then to make the employees understand what's the vision or what's the strategy. So I work with those companies and draw a visual of the strategy, of their values or whatever. So whatever services, if you have a service that is maybe a little bit more complex, we put it on a page. We work, and in the end, you do have your service visualized on one page. And when you want to explain to someone how that service works, you go through that page and you show them, see, this happens here and then this happens that. So everything transforming text into visualizations, just not real time. And the third is to bring more visuals to the world. If you do not want to hire a pro to do the graphic recording for you, the business visuals, learn to do it yourself, because it's not difficult. So I give workshops, I give trainings to individuals, public trainings, very often with companies for teams, and introduce people to the world of visualizations. And very often people go like, oh no, I can't draw, which is perfectly okay, because you don't need to draw. So if you can hold a pen and write your first name in capital letters on a piece of paper, check. Because this proves that you do have enough coordination of your brain, your eyes, and your hand to put strokes on a piece of paper deliberately, full stop. The rest is techniques I'll teach you. So these are the three areas to really bring more visuals to the business world.
Exciting. I mean, myself, I've always admired people who can draw, but I was always the one who helped her friends with languages, and my friends helped me draw or even drew my pictures. So I cannot imagine, but this is really something I love, challenges. So I think sooner or later I will try it out, because it makes so much sense.
Yes.
To have especially complex information, or like everyday tasks as well, right? Or everyday, I don't know, or an own vision, aims, whatever, on a one-pager.
It helps so a lot
to get.
What I very much like about visualizing is it takes a little bit more time than speaking. So visualizing, let's say, encourages you to really focus on what is important in that particular situation or for a particular goal. So it encourages you to focus. And by that, you really, in the end, you get clarity for yourself. And then for clients or for employees, which is fine, but it encourages you to focus on what's key, and that helps you to get the clarity to go on with what you do. This is what I like about it.
Makes sense. I can imagine that when you work with companies and you do the visualizations, that they sometimes even spot, I don't know, holes or find questions that they need to clear up for themselves.
Very much. That's actually one of the key working mechanisms of that. It's when you can explain it to me, I can visualize it. We don't. The challenge is not the visualization itself. The challenge and the work is the explanation. So also when we work with a strategy, no matter how well formulated the words are, I ask a lot of questions, and sometimes the silly questions, sometimes the questions other people do not want to ask. And I ask them because otherwise I can't do my job. And it's actually that process of me asking questions, because I do have the goal in my head. I need to do that visual in the end, and to do that properly so it's beneficial to the client. I need really to understand what they want, why they want it, how they want it. So that's a lot of questions. So the process is usually, you can imagine that a little bit like, you know, the iceberg in water. So the tip above the water, what you see is then the nice visual in the end, and you go like, yeah, that looks nice, which is cool, and I love it. I love the visuals. That's great. But the work is all that below the surface, with the questions, with iterations. We're looking at it from a different angle. We're asking even more questions. So this is a little bit the image that helps then a lot to understand the visual is a result. It helps the process, but it's the result. The process is a lot of questions and free formulations and giving it a try and realizing, you know, sometimes it helps when you see something that I visualized and you go like, no, it's not that, because, and giving reasons why it's not that. You then find out, it's something, it's not a cow, it should be a giraffe, which is good. But the thinking process from not cow to yes, giraffe, that's beneficial.
And I can imagine you as an outsider, the company has the benefit that you're not an expert in the topic, so you're not biased. So you really ask these simple or stupid questions that an expert wouldn't ask, wouldn't dare, or which is like your native language. But you like learn their language, so you ask questions they don't even think about, but they need it because they might want it to make it understandable for customers, or also people like you or me who are not experts either. So it's a perfect match.
Exactly. That's exactly it. I do not get lost in details because I don't know the details, and that's so helpful. I'm, you know, like I go, sometimes I have with clients try to sell individual trees to their clients, to their customers. And I go like, first you have to explain to them that's a forest. And only if they're okay to walk with you into that forest, then you can start explaining what sorts of trees they are, why you would use one or the other. But I'm on a level of the forest. So look, this is the woods. And if you prepare to go there, then shoot all the details. The first step first.
Amazing. What was your most exciting or challenging project so far?
Difficult, because I have so many exciting projects. I think challenging, a really challenging one was, as you said, I'm not an expert in loads of things I work on. So I was working with a company. They produce medical devices, and I don't have any medical background. And they would summon all their advisors. They work globally to discuss specific projects, how they were received by patients, how to develop them further. And for that graphic recording, that was half a day of the workshop that I accompanied there. I learned 2 pages of vocabulary. I had the English medical term, because it would be in English. I had the German medical term, because some group work would be in German. And then I had the explanation in my words, very simple, what it is. And literally, it's like when you were back in school learning French or Spanish, I was learning medical terms.
Like a new language.
Oh my God, it was exciting, but it was really challenging, because that was learning by heart. Oh my God, yeah.
Wow.
But that was cool. It was good. And the outcome was really cool. They were so happy. So yeah, that was a good thing.
Wow, amazing. So how is like the process? Do you first start alone, or do you sit together and continually work on it's always a one-pager, right?
Very often it is, because it kind of forces you to focus, but very much depends on how it's then used by clients, or what's the goal. And yeah, it's can differ.
And then you sit together with the expert, and you're an expert in visual communication, and they are an expert in their topic, and you cooperate, or how can I imagine this would work?
That can happen as well. It very much depends on the topic. Some topics are easier or more familiar to me than others. Then it makes it a bit easier. But in general, especially for graphic recordings where I do really real time, it's always improvising. So when I'm at a graphic recording, no matter how well I know the agenda, and if I get the slides in advance, it's always improvising, because you never know what happens, what questions come. But my credo is, the better I'm prepared, the better I can improvise. So I prepare quite a lot, the topic. And for a topic that it's not very close to me, I arrange with a client that I get access to a subject matter expert. Usually it's clients send me material or send me links or give me keywords, and I do a lot of research myself. I Google, I read the materials, I go through websites or whatever. And very often then there are either still questions open, or I want the kind of confirmation that I understood the general terms correctly. So I talk then to the subject matter expert just to clarify, to see. And after that, we both can actually then go very, comfortably to the graphic recording, because then I know that I do understand what's going on that day, to the particular level at least. So yeah, it's a lot of preparation.
Wow. I can imagine each project is so different, and you learn so much. So you really need to be a very open-minded person.
Absolutely. I think that's I love what I do, but that's an aspect I really adore is I learn so much. I'm a person, I love learning anyways, but I get glimpses into topics or areas that I would have never been in touch with, like medical device production. No, it's not on my day-to-day agenda to read on it, but it's so exciting when I'm kind of a little bit pushed into it, and that's cool. And the more I know about topics, the more relations I can do, the more associations they come. So it's really exciting.
Wow. Are there also topics that or projects that you don't do? Have you already not accepted a project because it's not a topic that you can associate with, or maybe it's not, it's against your values or something like that?
Not yet. I do have my values, and I know that for certain topics and certain sectors, I would be very hesitant, again, depending very much on the specific topic or aim of what it is, because it's, you know, it's a very broad variety I do. But no, I've never been in a situation going like, no, I don't want to work on this topic. I personally think it's, before we even get to a talk on specific topics, it's chemistry, it's vibes, it's those people will probably go somewhere else to have their visuals drawn and not come to me, because that's just I think it's just, it shouldn't happen. So no, I've never had that situation so far.
No, that's great. So looking into the future, are you currently working on ideas that you would like to realize one day, or do you have a dream that you would love to make come true one day?
loads of dreams. Well, one dream actually, or let's put, it was one of my kind of life dreams that I went with me for years and years. I've always wanted to illustrate a children's book, and I'm not an illustrator. My background is not illustration, not graphics, but that was with me for years and years and years. And this October, my first children's book came on the market. I love it.
Oh, wow.
It's in German though.
Oh.
And I did all the illustrations. A friend of mine did a text, and we worked together with a foundation for nature protection. So one part of the sales of the book go back into that project. And that was really a dream coming true, because that was with me for a very long time. Although it's very much outside my comfort zone, because I'm not an illustrator, but that was amazing.
It's always good to leave your comfort zones.
Absolutely.
Dreams are never in comfort zones.
Yeah, it was tough, but it was great. And it feels so good having it and seeing it and going like, oh.
I can imagine. You can be proud of yourself.
Yeah, I love it. He's a cutie. No, there's a lot of dreams and ideas. I think one thing is that I started kind of already working on it this year is, I'm a visual practitioner, and in Switzerland particularly, there is a community of other visual practitioners. So I'm not the only one, the only person doing that. There are a few, but they're scattered around Switzerland. And this year I started building up this community, bringing those people together, starting building a platform that we can exchange, because it makes a difference when I talk to someone who knows what I do, when I don't have to explain what my job is. So this September we had the first physical meetup. So this is slowly, but it's really steadily growing. And this is one of my aims or goals or dreams, to have a very solid community of visual practitioners in Switzerland. So this is one thing. I want to teach more, give more trainings. I want to encourage much more people to overcome maybe their fear of, oh, I can't draw, and just take a pen and start visualizing. It's visualizing, it's not drawing. It's like you learn speaking at a time, you learn reading, you learn writing, you can learn visualizing. For me, it's a technique of communication, full stop. You can learn it. There's people who are more eloquent than others. There are people who can write nicer text than others. But because they are such people, you never stopped talking or you didn't stop writing. You still do it on your level. And the same is true for visualization. So I want to encourage more people to start visualizing and start using the technique for themselves. You don't even have to show it to someone, but use it for yourself, and you will see how beneficial it is. So, that's what I want to do. And yeah, I'm very happy on where I stand at the moment, because I love what I do. I can do that for a living. How cool is that? So I see what comes.
It's amazing. I can feel your passion, your energy. Yeah, it's just beautiful. So, what fits perfectly to my next question. What is your personal secret to success?
I think it's love what you do. I think there's a lot of secrets. I love what you do and be curious. Even if you then encounter something that you don't like, then at least you know, and next time you avoid it. So be curious, and then you see what happens. And I must say, I'm a very optimistic person by nature, so I usually go out and see, well, it will be fine, some way or the other. But I think being curious helps.
Good suggestion. Thank you. If you get the chance to meet your younger self, what would you tell or recommend her?
Be bolder. I used to be very shy and kind of, holding back a little. One example, my husband is still making fun of me about that, is when I do graphic recordings at a workshop or a conference, very often at the end of the day before the official closing, I show the graphic recording I did to the audience. I go on stage and walk them through the day again. A few minutes, but I kind of guide them through the graphic recording, helping them to close the day also mentally. There's usually a lot of content. And I feel very comfortable on stage. A couple of years back, I would have never done that. So it's really, I think I would recommend to my younger me, just be bolder. It's give it a try.
So true. Thank you. And which inspiring woman would you love to see one day in success stories?
I thought a lot about the question, although the very first name that came to my mind is a person I admire for the breadth of her skills. She's a trained sculptor, so an artist, trained sculptor, has international exhibitions. And at the same time, she's a trained legal person. She's a legal professional. And I like this combination of, legal and law. To me, I'm not a legal person. It's kind of like very strict and you have to, stick to the letter, and the creativity of an artist. And at the moment, she is bringing to life a living museum in the south of Switzerland, in the Ticino. She's president of the Living Museum, bringing that to life. In February, it should open. And I also like the thought of that Living Museum. She's so much better at explaining what it is. And I like her energy of doing arts, helping people with arts, and being that legal professional. I like that.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you. What is her name?
Christiane Turecek.
Nice name. Thank you, Dana. Thank you for sharing your story, your passion. I can feel it. And I'm a big fan now of visual communication. This is
Give it a try. Thank you very much. And it was a pleasure being here. Thank you. And wish you loads of cool women for sharing their success stories with you.
Thank you. Yeah, me too. And inspiring more and more women. I find you really, really inspiring. And I'm sure there are many women out there, or even men, who got inspired. Thank you for watching or listening to our talk. I think visual communication is a really, really cool tool to bring your thoughts, your core message on a paper and make it visible. Whether it's in private life or business life, I think this is the future. So try it out, go for it. I wish you a great day and hope to see you next time. Bye.